Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another Inside Lowell podcast as we go inside the Massachusetts Pirates. We do this feature every Tuesday during the football season, and we're really excited today. Well, we're excited every week to talk to our local professional football team and learn about some of the players and the coaches and their journey to get here. But our guest today, we probably know more about his journey to get here than any other player on that Pirates roster this year or last year or any other year. We're really excited to have Chelmsford, Massachusetts' own Sal Lupoli Jr. joining us here on the Zoom line. Sal, thank you for being here, man. It's great to have you with us.
No, Teddy, this is an honor, and I'm extremely grateful to be here with you. So, I'm excited. Thank you very much.
All right. We're glad you're here. I know you got a really busy schedule between practices and game preps and whatnot, but just a little bit about last week's game. You finally got, the team got its first win of the year. You went literally right down to the end of the clock, double zeros to kick a game-winning field goal. Had to feel good, though, to do it and to do it in front of the home crowd, right?
That was great. Walk-off win, always really exciting. But it was great to get one for the home fans. That was big. We were 0-2 at home. We were able to flip that script. Now we're 1-2, and I really see us, rising to the occasion every game from now on. I feel like this past week in practice. Last week in practice where we got that win, it's just a different kind of energy that we're bringing. So I really feel like, those two games were a little bit of a gut check, and now we're off to the races.
I'm glad that you used the word energy, because if I could use one word to describe your play on the field, you're not the biggest guy out there, you're not the fastest guy out there, but damn, you bring this energy. It's really is infectious. I mean, even your coach talked about it last week when I had him on. Have you always played like that? I didn't have the pleasure of seeing you play in high school or at Bentley. Is that your calling card?
No, I would say it definitely is. To your point, I've always been, the underdog. I've always had a chip on my shoulder. I was always the player who was good enough to play at the Division II level, but not quite big enough to play at the Division I level. Got overlooked a lot, So I feel like, the word that comes to my mind is passion. I just feel like when you live life, you have to live passionately, and when you're playing the sport. This sport especially, it's a violent sport. It's a great team sport. And the way to do it, in my opinion, is to be passionate about it, to have energy. And I believe that energy, like you said, is infectious. Whether it's the crowd or whether it's our teammates. Say if somebody makes a big play, I'm going to be the first one to congratulate them, or vice versa. I want my brothers on my team to come and congratulate me, because that energy is infectious. And then the offense picks it up. Then the offense starts doing their thing. So 100%, that is how I love to play the game. And that's how I love to live my life with passion.
And that's exactly what the fans are seeing and I think feeding off of as we go. I mean, literally, I think your first big play of the year was you guys had just given up a touchdown. You could feel like the air come out of the stadium, and then you soared in, running in from the side to block the extra point, and immediately you could feel that Tsongas Center crowd just pep up. I'm sure that, along with your interception, was kind of one of your highlights so far this year.
Yeah, definitely that first kick. I mean, that was first quarter of the game. Again, who's this kid? He's a local kid. Yeah, okay, let's see what he can do. And then I think, that kick was a little bit like, okay, wow, he's going to bring it every single play all game long. And that's who I am. So whether it's special teams, whether it's defense, I'm going to give you every single thing I have every single play. So that play is a test of, the will to win and the energy and the passion. That's not, in my opinion, a skill play. That's how bad do you want it. And I just want it better than the person across from me.
Yeah, and you mentioned having to settle for Division II football, but I bet there's some Division I coaches, maybe not the football powerhouses down at Alabama and Georgia, but there's probably some Division I coaches around the country who regret not giving you a chance to come on their campus and contribute to their team. You did, however, despite the fact that you only played it at the Division II level in college, you actually got an invite to an NFL rookie minicamp, the Tennessee Titans, right?
I did, but it's funny that you say that. And I want to be very clear of how much I enjoyed Bentley. I met my best friends. I was fortunate enough to have a great career. I was surrounded by great coaches, one of whom is actually from Lowell. Lowell, born and raised, legend of Lowell, Scott Boyle.
Scotty Boyle, that's right.
So So he's at Lowell High now. He was at Lowell High for years. He was at Bentley for a little bit. Then he came back to Bentley my last year. So that was a amazing time at Bentley. But to your point of there was a few teams I was fortunate enough to be named the best player in New England, and from Division II and Division III, and there's a banquet with all the Division I, all the Division II, all the Division III, and I had a big speech at the end of the banquet, and a lot of the Ivy League schools passed up on me, and Harvard was there, for example, and I wanted nothing more than to go to Harvard. Great school, great academics, right in the city. The Division I was really obsessed with it, to be honest with you, and didn't quite get in. But sure enough, the coach, came up to me and my dad after, my football career at Bentley was done. I just made this kind of final speech of the best player in New England, and he came up, he said, so if we go back, we made a little bit of a mistake, but I say that because of just the chip on my shoulder that every single day, even in practice, I still come in because we're surrounded by SEC players here. The Pirates have some of the best players, from college football. So every single day I'm coming out still. I need to prove myself. And I don't think that mindset will ever go away. And, maybe when I get into the workforce in a few years from now, I hope I still have that chip on my shoulder to, propel me to work those long nights and to do the extra things that's required to be successful. But, you mentioned the Tennessee Titans and being a local boy, born and raised in Chelmsford, went to Chelmsford High. I did a post-grad year at Phillips Andover, and then I went on to Bentley. So every single facet of my football career has been, just a local kid, playing hard football, but, public school, then private school, but, it wasn't the Chokes of the world, it wasn't these St. Thomas More powerhouses. Then I go to Division II. So to get to that level of the Titans was a dream come true, and it was one of the greatest feelings in the world because, and I'm not done there. Again, the journey is continuing, but that was just a little reminder, and it was a little more motivation for me because all the work that I put in, all the sacrifice that I put in, all the time I spent, I've obsessed over this game, with my work ethic, how I think about it. I've sacrificed so much. So to have that win, as far as to get to the NFL, a dream I've had since I was 7 years old when I first was around the game of football, I was extremely blessed and grateful. That's really the word I want to use, is just extremely grateful because that hard work did pay off. But now I look at that and it motivates me because the job is not finished and, I still have more in me and, that's why we're here. So motivating, but also so grateful, and just it was a dream come true to be in those facilities and to be at that level from Chelmsford, Massachusetts.
Yeah, I love the humility, but you left out an important part about your college career. Not only were you the New England Player of the Year, you were the MVP of the league you played in as a defensive player. That hadn't happened in like 2.5 decades, right? 25 years?
Yeah. So, again, I'm grateful for it, and I want to thank my coaches and teammates. But to your point, that was a pretty cool moment because after the season, I was hoping maybe I'll get Defensive Player of the Year. In my opinion, my junior year, I thought I got snubbed a little bit. So the next year, I came back. I'm like, I'm coming back with vengeance, and I'm going to get Player of the Year this year as far as just Defensive Player of the Year. But when the news came back, I got MVP of the league. it was pretty a surreal moment because there's been no defensive player in my school to win that award. There's only been one other MVP of the league, and we're talking decades. So that was a little bit of like a wow. But again, motivating. I think if you can get in trouble if you celebrate your wins too much. It's okay to, be grateful. It's okay to, for a couple hours, a couple days, that's great. I did a great thing, but you got to keep moving on because you celebrate your wins, you get complacent, you can even get lazy. So after that, again, just more motivation in the tank.
Yeah. You sound like there's a coaching future in there somewhere for you, but I hope this professional football journey lasts as long as you can do it. How fortunate do you feel to be able to play at home, literally in your backyard? I imagine you would have traveled anywhere, right? You would have gone to some of these cities you're playing against, whether it's Quad City or Jacksonville, but to get to do
Well, it's
it.
funny you say that. Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was originally signed to Quad City. That's how I got into this whole arena football thing. Was a scout came up to me at a showcase last December before the pro days, before everything. Hey, I'm a Quad City scout. I'm here with arena football, and just my focus was the NFL, the NFL coming out of college, last year. So I just wasn't too focused on that, but time took its, the world took its course, and I found myself in a situation where, okay, maybe let's check out this arena league. I knew about the Mass Pirates because being a local kid, you always would hear about them, and they've been a powerhouse, so you always hear about the Mass Pirates, but it was just the first team that reached out to me, which was Quad City, so I kind of followed a relationship with them and ended up getting signed by them, and it kind of came down to the wire, and I got with my dad, who's my biggest inspiration, and someone who I always bounce ideas off of, and just a mentor in my life. I'm like, Dad, I'm about to go to Illinois, and it's not even Chicago, Illinois. It's Moline, the middle of nowhere. And I just was talking to Dad, how great, how amazing would it be if I could figure out a way to stay home and play in front of my friends, my family. I graduated. My high school graduation was in the Songus Arena. So it's totally a full circle moment, and we were able to figure some stuff out with my agent. And we were able to figure some things out, and was fortunate enough to get signed, which I'm blessed, to be here. I'm blessed that the Pirates and Jawad, took a chance on me, and Coach Griggs took a chance on me, because it's surreal. You make a play in front of your friends and your family, and now you're playing professional football. So kids are coming out from Lawrence and from Methuen and all neighboring NBC towns where they know my name, they're rooting for me, so I'll be walking by, high-fiving people in the crowd, and people that I don't know will say, come on, Sal, great job, this, and it's just truly, it's a blessing, and that's really the way I describe it, because it's been a lot of work that's been put in, and the hard work's paying off, and again, I'm still not there yet, but it's just refreshing to be able to be home. And I'm a family guy. I love my family more than anything. They're able to come to all the games. My friends, they're able to come to all the games. That's a beautiful thing for me. So I'm so grateful and blessed.
All right. And I'm going to get back to your family and your dad in a quick second. But you're going on the road this week, right? Your first road game of the season. How do the preparations change for that? I know oftentimes road trips, especially longer they talk about it in the Major League Baseball or wherever, they can be like good team building experiences. Are you looking forward to actually getting out there with this group of guys and being away from the home and the family and everything else except football?
Of course. I mean, I think it's a short trip, so it's definitely a business trip. We have a trip out in Arizona that we're out there for 2 weeks because we have a game Saturday and then I think the following Saturday, both in Arizona. So that's going to be, I believe, maybe more of a team building and just seeing what the guy, like we're out of the state with the guys, but make no mistake about it, we're going to Jacksonville for 3 days to handle business and then come back home. So I'm excited to do work with my brothers away. See how we respond to an away crowd, and especially I heard Jacksonville is one of the craziest crowds. So I'm excited to get into that fishbowl and go to work with these guys.
And I'm going to wrap it up by asking you a question because I kind of feel your pain a little bit. I've reached nowhere near the heights you have, but I grew up in a family where my father owned a restaurant, and I just came from there a few minutes ago.
Right.
And I believe that I saw you were out your dad's newest place up in Haverhill. Bosa.
Yes.
I believe I was out there for dinner with my wife on a summer night last year, and there you were running around doing the things that every poor kid who's grown up in the restaurant industry has to do. You talked about the, when your playing career is over and getting into the business world. Please tell me that you've got better plans than being stuck in a family restaurant.
No, I wouldn't want it any other way. I grew up, I was always that kid that was selling gum on the bus. I used to have snacks in my locker. I would sell snacks out of my locker. So I've always had a business mind. I've always had an entrepreneur mind. So I believe if my dad was a mechanic, I would find my way in the business world, regardless. So I absolutely love it. I love the hospitality business. I love the fact in the hospitality business that you can make someone's night by their experience. I think that's incredible, but also we're in the real estate business as well. And I love that aspect as well, acquiring real estate and having visions brought to life, and the biggest thing is making people happy, helping other people, creating jobs. That I think is a beautiful thing. So I still work with my family. I'm actually currently taking classes. I'm finishing up my master's right now. I'm still working with my family. I'm not as much because how busy football is, but really a week before the Pirates started, I was working 2 nights in the restaurant, 3 days in the office, taking classes, training for football. So this is part of what it is. But certainly in my family, nothing is given; it is earned. So that's part of why I do love it, because I know if this is what I want to do, I have to earn the respect of my family and the respect of the employees right now at Lupoli companies and the restaurants. So I absolutely love the restaurant business. I love the Lupoli companies. I love our family business.
All right. Well, listen, I'm sure you are going to succeed no matter what path you choose, and I hope you someday you keep getting this pro football dream going, and maybe you get lucky enough to catch an NFL break at some point. But if not,
sir,
I'll catch you up there with the missus some night. All right.
Always. You let me know. We'll do something special for you, Teddy.
Nothing. Whenever I see ownership actually busting their hump, or the kids of ownership, to me that's special enough. So thank you very much, Sal. Best of luck the rest of the year, and keep those crowds fired up.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. That is Sal Lupoli Jr. joining us here on our Inside the Pirates podcast for this week. Hope you learned a little bit about it. It's a great story. We love local stories, but this one in particular, and you can hear it himself. There's nothing phony there. That is a kid who loves the sport, loves life, and is very passionate about it. He's going to be a leader for years and decades to come. Thank you to Sal Lupoli Jr. Thank you for joining us here as we go Inside the Pirates. We'll catch up with you next week. Till then, everybody stay safe, and we'll see you on the other side.